Welcome to Angie Night. We're very excited to have you all here. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention our sponsors. The conference this year has been made free of charge to everyone. Great thanks to some of our big sponsors, PSE&G, New Jersey Natural Gas, and our anonymous donor, who is a friend of science and environmental education in New Jersey. So thank you to them. A few reminders, we ask that everyone keeps himself on mute throughout the presentation. And at the end, we will have opportunity for questions. So if you want to put them in the chat as we're going along, we'll keep track, or if you want to add them at the end or raise your hand, there will be time for that. Also, Kendra will be putting in our YouTube channel link. We are recording all the sessions, so if you want to rewatch this one or watch one you may have missed, they will all be available on YouTube. Thank you. And so again, welcome to Angie Night. We're very excited to have you here. We try to do this night every conference so that we can let people know what Angie is working on this year. And we're always looking for help. So we're very excited that you're here, hopefully looking to volunteer and help out with us. My name is Beth Stolting. I am Angie's Director of Operations and Development. If you don't know me, I joined Angie in June of 2019. I've been working a lot on our communications and on our infrastructure, and it's been great so far. So I'm very, very glad to be with Angie. I hope you will want to join us as well. Angie is made up mostly of volunteers, pretty much all volunteers. And that's what this night is about, to see if we can get you to come help us reach our mission and make sure that we are promoting environmental education in New Jersey. Let's see. So tonight we're going to share with you our plans for the year. Like I said, first we're going to start with our Angie committee chairs. We're then going to move on to talk about our spring and summer Zoom series, which is going to start after the conference is over. Third, we are going to talk about our regional groups, which you may remember in the past if you've been with Angie for a while. We are going to bring those back, so we're excited about that. And last, Mike is going to talk about our anti-racist environmental justice education working group that we are starting. So again, something else very exciting that we're beginning this year. So again, questions, please feel free to put in the chat, but I think we're going to get started. And if Max, you want to start off with finance, take it away.
Hi, everybody. My name is Max Mintz. I'm Angie's treasurer. I'm hoping that you'll become interested in joining Angie's finance committee, which is, I know it's a hard sell, but it's probably the committee that will give you the most practical experience and resume builder items to work on. As everybody's looking, I know Kendra's gonna
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything
because she's running communications, and she'll be talking about that later. But you know, the finance committee is where we run the numbers. We come up with the budgets. We decide how much this conference is going to cost us and how we're going to pay for it. We set our goals and targets, and you know, we handle all of the important tax filing information that has to happen for Angie. So I know it's a hard sell, but I really hope that somebody here will be inspired to join the finance committee and come help me run the numbers.
Awesome. Thank you, Max. Next, we have Kelly Wenzel with governance.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, thank you so much for showing up for the last week and a half, as well as tonight. I know we're all tired at the end of the night. I'm Kelly Wenzel. I am the co-president with Mike Chodroff. So when Mike cycles off in June, I will be sailing the ship, which leads me into governance, which is my main job. So I'm going to screen share, but I promise it's not a whole PowerPoint. It's just because visual cues help me. So it's just a couple of slides just to kind of get everybody warmed up here. So let me move you guys down. Hello. Okay. So what is governance? What does that mean? So governance covers everything, financial viability of the organization, that we're doing our mission. So as Beth said, we are an environmental education organization. So everything that we do, we advocate for is around the education aspect within the environmental realm. And strategic leadership is a big part of governance. So, you know, I volunteered to do the co-president position, because I'd been on the board for a while and saw that, you know, again, Mike was cycling off and that there was a need for somebody to steer the ship, right? It was his second term, he can't run again. So I said, you know, it's my turn to kind of step up and help lead the ship. Hopefully we'll sail in the right direction. But as Max said, I also looked at it as sort of that, not necessarily resume builder, but sort of professional development, right? So all of our nonprofit organizations, you know, to get money for professional development, sometimes it's very challenging to take that course you want to take or go to a workshop. This is kind of built in PD. You kind of learn as you go, but everyone on the board is so super supportive, and there's always legacy people hanging out that you can talk to. So I talk with Dale, or I can talk to Pat Kane or Pat Heaney, who are all former presidents, or Liz or Hugh. We're all in the same ship, and you can reach out to any of these people to help. So I would say with any of these positions, if anything sparks your interest, you say, I want to learn more about X. This is a great way to get involved in the organization, but also develop yourself. And I look at it this way. So, you know, I don't like words, I like pictures. So on the left picture is a very impaired forest, right? It's got trees growing, but they're all kind of older, very big trees, because the deer have browsed everything. So there's no younger trees, right? So we know that that's not a healthy forest. If everyone is kind of aging out, who's going to come in behind? And then that middle forest is that early succession, right? There's some undergrowth and there's some big trees, but even still, if all the big trees leave, it's going to take a really long time to get that forest to, you know, its apex. And then the picture on the right is, you know, this forest that is the ideal forest. You've got shrub layer, you've got young trees, you've got older trees. So when the older trees go away, you know, there's trees right there to sort of take over and fill in the gaps where the sunlight is let in. So what I would say is, you know, as in governance, that's what it's about. It's kind of helping foster, you know, the leadership and bring everyone up and keep everyone kind of on the straight and narrow. So, you know, if you're at all interested in helping the organization in any way, reach out to me and I can certainly help you make those connections.
Thank you, Kelly. And I've got to work with Kelly a lot more now since she's become co-president, which is awesome. So thank you for that. Next up is Liz. Liz Johnson is our planning committee chair.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around being an old growth tree. No. Vibrant. So Kelly was talking about steering the ship. And actually, a lot of the work that the planning committee does is to help us actually steer the ANJEE ship. So essentially, we're responsible for maintaining and updating our bylaws, and then these policies and procedures handbooks that go along with the bylaws. And we're also involved heavily in strategic planning. So for us as an organization to keep current, in 2017, we actually did have a retreat, and together with a consultant, we completely revamped our bylaws to sort of bring them up into, you know, how they should be set for modern times. And those, if anyone's interested, are posted on the ANJEE website. And in addition, we have now revised the handbook, which has all the details. It's like, how do you interpret the bylaws so that you know exactly how you might want to run a meeting, or decisions that, you know, will help us make as we organize other things. It's sort of, but put in plain language instead of bylaw legalese. So we do have those as have been revised as well. And also, as far as strategic planning goes, at the beginning of each year, we look back on the past year to see what we've accomplished, whether we met the goals and objectives that we established. And then we look to the coming year in light of what's going on actually in environmental education in the state and nationally, to see if we need to tweak our goals or to tweak our objectives in any way. And then we will set new ones, identify new ones that we want to accomplish for the coming year. So it may not be really glamorous work, but it ensures that we're in compliance with state requirements as a 501c3. It actually helps us with fundraising because a lot of times funders want to know that your organization is viable and has been around for the long term and has all the proper things in place. And it also helps us as an organization more efficiently do our work. So I would definitely welcome people to come and help look at our bylaws, look at the policies, think of things we can improve, think of things we can add that we hadn't anticipated that would make our work a lot more efficient. And you can reach out to get in touch at any time. Thanks.
Thank you, Liz. Next up, we have Hugh Corolla for Advocacy Chair.
Oh, thank you, Beth. All right, so look at it this way. I bet there's hardly a math teacher or math tutor anywhere in the world that expects his or her students to become mathematicians. Same would be true of history teachers. They're probably not going to become historians or published researchers. Art teachers, the great work that they do, I'm certain that they don't expect hardly any of their students to become actual artists. And I would lay down serious money that music teachers know for a fact there are very few musicians in the classroom. But what sets environmental educators apart is that there is something that we do, that we have, that we hope for our students, whether we be non-formal educators like me or classroom teachers. It's that when they leave our classroom, or they leave my boat, or they leave the program or the center, we hope that they will in somehow, some way become environmental advocates, that what we give them, they will take and it will grow and it will bear fruit in their lives and in the lives of their friends, their families, their neighbors, and ultimately their nation. That is the biggest thing, as I see it, that sets environmental education apart from every other discipline, in addition to the fact that it is clearly, transdisciplinary. But that's what I believe we all hope for our students, whether we see them for an entire semester, an entire year, or just a day or a couple of hours. And that being said, what we do in the advocacy realm with ANJEE is that we advocate for support for environmental education, whether it be in the federal No Child Left Inside Act, whether it be at the state level for funding for all sorts of programs, for most importantly, for climate education these days. And in New Jersey, we are definitely well ahead of the curve in most ways. One of the groups that we are most connected to when it comes to this kind of work is our parent company, the home office, the North American Association for Environmental Ed, NAAEE, and they do the heavy work as far as doing the lobbying in Washington. And what happens with us and our other affiliates is that the call comes out from NAAEE, okay, we need your senators, we need these Congress members to get on board with this dear colleague letter, to get on board to co-sponsor this legislation, and on it goes. And very often it's myself and a small group of us that make those calls and contacts to various members of Congress and to our two senators. Do not ever be afraid of lobbying or making calls like this. You are more than able to do so legally, even if you work for a school or for a nonprofit organization, as I do. It's part and parcel of your mission to support environmental ed in every way possible. It's not hard to do. It's actually fun to do. And one of the things that I was really hoping to do post-COVID was to make my way down to Washington, D.C. and do some in-person lobbying. That's still on my agenda. We'll see how things go post-insurrection. But that's certainly on the table. for the not too distant future. So I'm going to do it one way or another and get myself down there. And it's fun to do. I've done it many times, and I'd be more than happy to help introduce anyone to that kind of work. It's a lot of fun, as I say, and it is very rewarding. And a trip to DC is really pretty cool. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, you can reach out to me. We can start a conversation and perhaps get a very nice, new, engaged advocacy committee. So glad you're all here and just loving it all. Thanks.
Thank you, Hugh. Next is Kendra Mintz. She actually just joined our board most recently and also took over communications. So go ahead, Kendra.
All right, everybody. So the big thing that I think Angie is missing is your voice. So I'd really like to get more of what the members, what the volunteers are thinking, what they care about. So one of the projects that I'm restarting this year that we used to have is the Angie newsletter. So I'm really looking for people that want to be regular or guest authors. And let me look up for my little blurb. We're talking about topics like media review, like books, movies, podcasts, tips from Angie members, where to find the best free stuff, online stuff, class picks, classroom tips, different things related to like seasonal blooming and migration, what people can look out their window, what they should be looking for in the fall in New Jersey versus in the spring. Things about your experiences during the conference, things about your experiences during COVID, professionally, personally, things like that. Also, I'm hoping to get an area that's devoted, an area of the newsletter that regards the arts, either poems, written stories, drawings, something from students as well. So things to get like your kids sort of involved in this as well. So you might be thinking like, okay, I'm not interested in newsletter. There's lots of other parts of communications. What about social media or the times that Angie, let's say we get bigger and bigger, we need to start talking with the press. That's all part of the communications committee. And you know, like our YouTube channel, we can use help with that, making more videos, posting more content, getting it out to more people. So if you're interested, if you've got writing skills, art skills, photography skills, connection with kids, organizational skills, or you just think it'd be fun, come join communications. It's everything. It's how we connect. Okay, I'm done. Someone else talk. It's weird.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kendra. Sounds good. Next is Laura McMahon. She is our membership committee chair. She actually came into Angie when I joined, so we're partners there.
And how can I follow up after Kendra's perfect tagline there? We'll have to come up with quotes. So
it can be a communications chair thing.
That's
everybody
perfect.
Come join the committee.
So the membership committee, we do want to bring more people into the organization, mostly because we feel that just about everybody can benefit from being a member. Right now, we are thinking of expanding our member benefits, but I'm looking for people who can tell me what they need. Whether you're a formal educator or an informal educator, how can Angie help you deliver the content that you want and to reach the people that you're interested in reaching? I have heard from some formal educators that it's hard to get to our conferences just because of the paperwork. And maybe there is something that we can do to bridge that gap and make things easier. So I'm looking for a little bit of input from current members, former members, non-formal educators, formal educators, on what we can provide to them, and how we can maybe smooth things along in making it easier for you to become Angie member. So I'm hoping if you have any ideas, you can send an email to the membership email address. And I think, Beth, can you put that in the chat? But if you're interested in helping out with that, I'm interested in whatever information you could provide. And if you're really gung-ho, that would be great if you could pitch in. But I think Angie has a lot to offer a lot of people. And we just sort of need to formalize it a little bit and gather that information and see how we can help.
Absolutely. Thank you, Laura. And we also have, we have individual memberships, but we also have organizational memberships, if you weren't aware. So if you want to join as an organizational membership, we do also have different benefits. Specifically, the big one is that you do get to exhibit at both our conferences, and that's always a big draw to be involved with the conferences in that way, as well as we do try to highlight you throughout the year in your programs at your organization. So that's what we're here for. So thanks, Laura. Next is Laura McCluskey, who is our program committee chair. And if you didn't know, Laura also just joined our board. And she is who brought together a lot of our presenters for this conference. So she's done a fantastic job already, and I know has a lot more in store. So go ahead, Laura.
Okay, thanks, Beth. The program committee, I've been very lucky to jump in just at the right time because I'm really enjoying the virtual conference. But the program committee is actually right now just me. And what I'd like to do is create a more formal committee with several people, maybe different parts of the state or from different backgrounds and things like that. So what programs does is there's several different paths that we go down. One path is the conferences. We have the fall conference, and then we have the winter conference. And traditionally, the fall conference is at Duke Farms, takes place in September, and the winter conference is at Princeton, and that takes place in January. Both of them are just a variety of different workshops that we bring together, and we try to give a different variety for formal and informal, different grade levels. There's so many different aspects to putting together a program that can please everyone in ANJEE. That's why, it'd be really good to have more people on board. So the conferences are a big part of it, and that's where I've jumped in. So I've only done that so far. But down the road, what I would like to do is to start more programming on a smaller level, just workshops here and there, Zoom meetings, virtual workshops, and having teachers available after school or even on weekends to jump in. And we're still virtual, and I think that that's the way we sort of have to start planning it. If you're familiar with Project Learning Tree and Project Wild and Project Wet, those are all programs that we could pull out and present and things like that. This conference was a weaving together of many different programs, but the best part of it was all the people I got to meet. So I got to meet people from every walk of environmental education, from the Department of Education, some of the big wigs, as we like to call them, right down to, classroom teachers and environmental center personnel. And that's my best experience, is that if you want to network and you're ready to sort of branch out in the environmental education field, being on this program committee, by default, you start to meet everybody in the state of New Jersey that works in the field of environmental education. And that has been it's sort of been really a boost for me to get myself. I've got a lot of gears going of things that I want to do. And I now have networks. I now have people I can call. I've already been in touch with a couple of people that I've worked on with workshops. So it's a great way to get involved. We're probably going to be virtual for a while. So we're looking for creative ideas. And I just gave you what I thought I'd like to do, so like I said, smaller programs and reaching out to maybe classroom teachers a little bit for workshops. But I would love to hear from people who would want to be on like a program committee and bring your ideas to the table, and we could meet and start the ball rolling and getting some really programs in ANJEE is the way that everybody really sort of connects. So I think that it's an important, a very important committee. So you can reach me by going on the ANJEE website, and then just getting in contact with us on there, and just say you're interested in the programs committee, and they'll get me that information, and I can put together a group. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And again, great job pulling together these.
Thank you.
for this conference. Next is, or last but not least, right, Pat, is Pat Heaney for our awards committee chair.
Thank you, Beth. Hi, everyone. My name's Pat Heaney, and I am the chair of the awards committee. The awards committee is great because we party. We have a big party where we celebrate environmental educators. Every year, we have the awards ceremony, which usually is a dinner, and we hand out awards, the Excellence in Environmental Education Awards, and they're in a number of different categories. So the awards committee works on that. There's basically two parts. The first part is choosing the awardees. So we get all these nomination forms, and as the committee chair, I take all those forms and I redact all the names and I send them out to the committee. We don't even meet in person. This is all done on email. So you would get some nomination forms to review, and you look at these candidates. And the nice thing is you get to read about all the wonderful things they're doing in the state. And then you just fill out a rubric and send them back to me. It's fair because you don't know who they are. The names are taken away, except usually with the Lifetime Achievement awardees. It's kind of hard to hide who they are because we all know them. So that's part of it. And that takes place over just a couple of weeks in November, or October, November. It's just a few weeks that you get these. You have a couple of weeks to look at them and get the information back to me. So it's not a huge commitment. And so if you're just looking to get your toes wet a little bit, this is a good way to start. Then the second part of the committee is really the event committee. Usually we have a dinner as part of the conference. We might be separating that out from the conference in the future. This year we're doing it, of course, on Zoom, but that's the other part, getting to pick what we're going to eat at the dinner and making a slideshow for the dinner and all of that. So it's a fun committee to be on. You get to find out what all these wonderful people are doing in our state. So if you're interested, it's awards@anjee.org. It's not a huge time commitment, and it's a good way to just get started and meet people. So I'd love to have you on the committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. And a great way to celebrate people as well, our EE our educators. And also this Saturday is the award ceremony, Saturday night at 6:30. So don't forget to join us there. We'll be dressed up and ready to party. So thank you so much, all of our committee chairs. Again, if you are interested in helping them out, feel free to contact them if you know them directly, or the easiest thing also might be to email me at director@anjee.org. And I can put that in the chat. And I think, Kelly, did you want to put in that flow chart also? So you can all see everything we just talked about and all the chairs.
Yeah, so I just want to show you, this is just a picture real quick for those of you not familiar with the board structure of ANJEE, like you've never seen the flow chart before. Just so that you all can see, what it looks like. Y'all saw that already. Oops. So, there are elected officers, and we didn't introduce Stephanie, although I know she's on the call as well. So we've got our 3 or 4 officers. Sometimes there's just a president, sometimes there's co-presidents like there are now. And then we have all of our standing committees, which you just met all of the chairs for those. And then, underneath, so for example, Kendra in communications, and this is not the most up to date because she'll have like a newsletter committee, but there's all the social things, programs for Laura. Right now, I just have conference committee, but like she said, she wants to do some other regional programs and things. So that would kind of be a spin-off over here. And even within the conference committee this year, we didn't really have exhibitors, but, Aaron and Hugh stepped in and were hosts for sessions and things like that. as was Anne. So, you know, you can kind of just see how the structure is. So we do have a few more slots just for regular, you know, board members. And of course, general members can always come and participate in all of the committees, and you don't have to come to all the board meetings. But if you want to be active, you know, as a more active board member, we do have a couple of spots open for that. So I just wanted to show you that chart so you could see it kind of in a hierarchy.
Thanks, Kelly. And I think also I wanted to mention, I'm seeing everyone's names in the session tonight, that we already have a lot of volunteers, a lot of you already helping us. So a big thank you to you already for helping Angie. Maybe you found something new that you want to try. Yes, claps. As well. And then also obviously for anyone who's new here, we hope you find something that you're interested in as well. So thank you again for being here. Next, moving on, we wanted to bring up our spring and summer Zoom series. This kind of came out of the fact that we had so many great proposals for this winter conference and we couldn't fit them all in, or maybe they just didn't fit right with our theme. So we decided that it made sense to continue this, and it's gone. So the conference has gone so well that I think that, you know, this is definitely the next good step following the conference. So the Zoom forum proposals, we just put the link in the chat there for you. If anyone wants to put in a proposal, please do. The dates are in there as well. The other side of it we're looking for are for volunteers to help us host those that series. So not every night, but individual ones. I believe we're doing them twice a month, and we'll see how that goes for the spring, starting in February already. So as soon as we're done with the conference, we're going to start our spring and summer Zoom series, which is really exciting. So if you didn't get to your proposal in for conference, we can try next, you know, definitely try for our Zoom series. And my little dog is calling for me, sorry. Next, we're going to move on to Laura with our regional groups. Laura, did you want to start talking about that for us? I think Dave is joining you as well.
Yeah, David Alexander's going to be joining in. David, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hi, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, David. So if you're not familiar with them, regionals are really just a way for Angie people to get together and for either activities, fun events, or discussions, movies, things like that. But we found that, you know, traveling from I live in the northern part of the state, and if something's going on down in Cape May, it's really hard for me to get there and take that drive. So regional sort of developed out of the necessity for being local and having a little bit less traveling on weekdays and things like that. And David, I'm going to ask you to start and talk about some past events. I know you've been running the northern regionals for several years. So if you want to talk about some past events that you've actually ran with the groups.
Yeah, so each year we have a few meetups. We've met at a lot of the local nature centers in the North region, like Essex County Environmental Center, the Somerset County Environmental Center, Turtleback Zoo. I'm sure there's been a few others. Oh, we've taken the Hackensack Riverkeeper tour together. So there's an agenda, but it's also just an opportunity to gather and meet each other. You know, I was noticing Laura and I were on a conference last evening, and there was a formal teacher, and it just seemed to me like sometimes it's not even so much about the skill, it's just sometimes you need somebody there to give you some encouragement. So it's a lot of it's just about that social gathering, just to share enthusiasm for you know, maybe even things that already are existing, and share what our successes have been. But there's also some of those old growth trees, go along with Kelly's analogy, that are making way, maybe giving up some of their nutrients, you know, as they retire or age, you know, to the young environmental educators coming in. So these are just fun opportunities to gather. We did the last 2 years. We had a naturalist day working with Tom over at Hunterdon County Parks, and we were going to have one at the Essex County Center in the North region in March, but that got canceled due to COVID. but we did hope to have a north gathering that is kind of somewhat of a field day, just for a small group of 20 or less, just to very similar to our ANJEE conferences, but just to gather up between the conferences and share some of the interesting things going on that we're excited about. So hopefully together with Laura, we'll be putting out more of these opportunities.
Yeah, great. Thank you, David. And Mike just alluded me to the fact that Sandy is on. Sandy, are you there? Sandy?
Sandy, did you want to talk a little bit about South and what you guys used to do? Because you were very active.
Well, it's been a while, but we still have Dr. Valentine asking when we're going to get together again. So I think we do need to get it moving again.
That's
We
great.
used to, yeah. Dave Orleans really had us on a schedule years ago. And when he left, Maureen Bellinger, and I, not Maureen, Michelle Bellinger and I sort of co-hosted the South for quite a while. And we would get together, as Dave just said, at different environmental centers. A lot of people hadn't seen what was available. It was a mixture of formal and non-formal people that got together. We would go on hikes. We did a Purple Martin kayak trip once. We were on Travis Davis, who's one of the former award winners. He has a skimmer boat out of Cape May, and we went on his boat a couple of times. That was a big hit. So it was we did a couple. We decided that we would try to set something up instead of only 4 times a year. And one of those was the winter conference, which Dave did. We decided we would try to set something up almost every month. And one of those, at least one of those get-togethers would be a social project of volunteering to help with something. So that was kind of fun. We, I met a lot of people through that. And it's helpful to have the list of who's, when you have people sign up for the conference, it's helpful to have who's from the different areas. So we were more successful gathering those people together than we were reaching out and building our group by reaching out to schools and different organizations. But that was one of the things we wanted to do, is to bring a friend kind of thing. And that's how I got involved in ANJEE. Sue Slaughterback said, hey, you should come to the conference with me. And I was a brand new teacher, brand new to New Jersey, really. So I think that's a cool way to let other people know about ANJEE, and to, like you said, Dave, not just socialize, but to support each other.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much. And thank you for speaking. I appreciate that. But I'm just getting a message from Pat. I'm trying to get to here. Central behind the scenes. Oh, Pat just wrote that a few years ago, Central Region had a behind the scenes tour at Jenkinson's Aquarium and then a campfire on the beach. That sounds like a lot of fun. That would have been an all state, I think. That would have been, everybody would have went to that. Yeah, so you can see that we have a lot of potential here. Certainly we have the places, between the facilities that we have and the environmental centers and the people. We have plenty of activities to do. Sandy, I loved your idea of the one of the activities being a volunteering event where you go and you do something that's, constructive and helpful. I think that that's really wonderful. And I also loved Bring a Friend. So I wrote it all down. I got some great ideas from you. Thank you. So what we'd like to do, I know we don't have a full group here tonight, and we'll put this out on the ANJEE website, I think, is we'd like to get the regionals back up and going again. If you are interested in being in a regional meetup, and it's just really, could be something very social, it could be something virtual, mostly virtual for now, but we'll do more later. If you want to be involved with the regionals, we're going to ask you to put your name and your town and your county into the chat on this site, and we'll make a original list from there. And then I think, Sandy, I might reach out to you for the South, and certainly David has the North, and I know we have some Central people, and we'll start putting something together again more formally. So, and get them up and going again, even if they're virtual. It's still nice to know people are in your area. Yeah. Okay, I think that's it for us.
Thanks,
Anything
Laura.
else? Yeah. Okay. Yep. It sounds like that we have a plan. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura, David, and Sandy. Thank you for sharing as well. Yes, when Sandy talked about our list basically from our conferences, if you weren't aware, we have over 400 people that signed up for our conference this year, which is amazing. Yeah, and so yeah, we have a good list to hopefully pull from and get people involved. So fantastic. That should be very exciting. Next, we have Mike Chodroff. He's going to talk about our anti-racist environmental justice education working group that we're starting.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mike Chodroff. I'm Kelly's co-president. Thank you all for being here this evening. It gives me so much joy to wear this ANJEE hat. Pat Kane, who I've been fortunate to get to know a bit, founded ANJEE in 1985 and then volunteered as executive director for several years. Later as president in the 1989-1990 ANJEE annual report. Pat wrote the roots of the ANJEE tree, and I quote, "It was a warm evening in April of 1985. 20 environmental educators from around the state were in a basement room of the New Jersey Audubon Center in Bernardsville. All agreed that as individuals, they were doing a pretty good job in the classrooms, nature centers, zoos, museums, parks, and camps. But on the whole, environmental education was still regarded as a minor issue and making very little impact on the behaviors of New Jersey citizens. They wondered, what if we set up a system for networking the formal classroom teachers with the non-formal educators? What if we had a special annual environmental education conference where we could gather and share ideas through workshops and panel discussions? What if we worked together on some common goals for strengthening the impact of environmental education in New Jersey? What then would it make a difference?" That was the acorn planted in the spring of '85, and the tree that sprouted was the Alliance for New Jersey Environmental Education, unquote. Now I look at these questions and one sticks out to me as far as the work that we still have to do as a community. So let me go back to those questions for a second. What if we set up a system for networking the formal classroom teachers with the non-formal educators? Check. What if we had a special annual environmental education conference where we could gather and share ideas through workshops and panel discussions? Check. What if we work together on some common goals for strengthening the impact of environmental education in New Jersey? Check. What then would it make a difference? Well, I can't definitively answer the would it make a difference because the preceding question is the one that still needs answering. What then? Well, we have to make sure that the networking system, the conferences, and the common goals that ANJEE has checked off are truly representative of the racial and cultural diversity of New Jersey. Again, this hat that I wear, and at the expense of hat head, the ANJEE logo, right? Our symbol of the environment, the bird's nest. You can find a bird nest in every region, in every town, in every city in New Jersey, right? They're everywhere. Our symbol for education, the book, a book full of information, fairy tales, phone numbers, biographies, photographs, science, and just about accessible to all. The A for alliance. By definition, it's a relationship based on an affinity in interests, nature, or qualities. And as I scroll through the faces and names on my screen, I see a web of connected individuals and organizations, right? We represent different regions, professions, passions, and social demographics, yet we're one big affinity group. We're environmental educators. NJ, New Jersey. I love Jersey. And respectfully to anyone else on the Zoom call, whoever watches this with affinities for other states, I'm sure you can make a good cause for it. But for me, I've been fortunate enough to travel the country by car, but New Jersey is the only home I've known. I've resided in 10 different towns in New Jersey. Rutherford, New Brunswick, Morristown, Long Valley, just to name a few. But no matter where I've lived or who I've befriended, New Jerseyans, whether north, south, or central, we know this is a unique and special state, and we are all stewards of this place. So the EE, environmental education. It's one thing to be a steward, it's another to educate others and inspire them to become stewards as well. That's what we all do all over the state, and we do it pretty well. But ensuring that environmental justice education is being shared and delivered throughout the state requires an understanding of the relationship between environmentalism and racism and smashing those systematic barriers. So the logo and these letters together, ANJEE, Alliance for New Jersey Environmental Education. The work that this new group needs to do is to make sure that the Alliance and the environmental education again reflect the amazing and beautiful racial diversity of New Jersey. These conversations started years ago. As an organization, we recognized that we had and have work to do in order to make sure that our alliance of environmental and environmental justice educators stretches across the entirety of our state. Board members began to attend professional development sessions at national conference about the systematic racism that was part of our own spaces and places. The recognitions of privilege, institutionalized inequities, economic barriers, not getting the cops called on most of us while birdwatching in Central Park, reading books such as White Fragility and Clean and White, A History of Environmental Racism in the United States, making a concerted effort to invite friends of color to conduct workshops and be keynote speakers at our conference to diversify the experiences and lessons for others in our alliance. We hired a consultant to run an all-day workshop at our annual retreat last March, Environmental Racial Justice from Intention to Action. Our goals for that included developing a common language and analysis for examining racism and an understanding of its different forms, understanding one's own connection to institutional racism and its impact on environmentalism and environmental justice, understanding why some communities are marginalized and the role of institutions in exacerbating institutional racism, particularly for people and communities of color and indigenous nations. Evaluating inclusive language or lack of used in program development and outreach to diverse populations within their own organizations. And developing a plan for creating a culture of inclusivity and community, our board, our staff, our membership, that reflect the communities in which they serve. Then a pandemic hit. And we had a lot to do in order to pivot just to get ANJEE online and make sure that we were still there for the Alliance. But as we settled in, the board updated ANJEE's mission statement to better reflect the work that needs to be done for all the citizens of our state. And in our latest strategic plan, we chose to start this, an anti-racist environmental justice education in New Jersey working group. And here we are. So now I think of the possible ideas and actions that this community of volunteers can create and implement, but I'll share them at the first brainstorming session of the group, and only after I have listened to others. What I ask is that if you're interested in doing this work, reach out and please join ANJEE on this essential journey, because with a bigger, more representative, more active alliance, only then will we be able to answer that final question. Would it make a difference?
Thank you, Mike. That was fantastic. Very, very important working group that we're starting. So this is really great. So if that was the last point on our list today, does anyone have any questions, or maybe Pat, were there any questions in our chat that anyone put in that we wanted to try and answer?
I don't see any questions. I'm very pleased to see many, many people giving their names and where they live, as well as their emails, which is great. So,
yes, thank you so much. So very happy that we have so
Christina Overman, you want to take yourself off mute and talk to us?
Hi, there are some faces that I recognize from being around. Yeah, hi, Stephanie. Had a question about, can we put our name in there for the regional meetups too if we're new to this group? And okay, so I wanted to make sure. And I live in Hunterdon, but work in Mercer, so I'll just put both in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you want our email in there as well, sounds like.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Yeah, we're just, but we have a lot, we're putting together a group of names and where everybody's located to start with. But we absolutely, if you could give your email, we'll be in touch. Yeah, awesome. Welcome aboard. We'd love to have you. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to go to that. You shared the, you want us to fill out the form, which will tell you if we're in which parts we're interested in. So awesome. Thank you.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Yeah. That link is in the chat for, you're talking about the volunteer Google form. Yes. Perfect. Thank you, Christina. Anyone else have any questions?
Oh, from David, don't forget about the auction. Yeah.
Oh, yes. We won't forget about our auction. Did David want to say something specific, or just the fact that you definitely want to keep checking your auction items because people are getting outbidded. So if you want your item, you got to keep looking at it. There's David.
Yeah, I don't know. David's stuff is a hot commodity. Yours is most of yours is sold already, Dave.
There's some things are closed, so you can just bid in full. Like those Acorn Naturalist gift certificates, $50. No, it's as good as cash. Yep. There's 75 to Ironbound Hard Cider. That's a terrific experience for whoever gets that. There's some really beautifully done Ladybug Metamorphosis rocks, and I'm surprised they're still at $30 and they haven't been bid up. I know those sold well last year. So the fishing flies just sold, so I saw that they're on the closed list. So there's still some cool items out there, and there's 3 days left. So hopefully everybody gets a chance to check it out.
Yep.
Any mugs with funny quotes on them?
No, not this year, Deb.
We're saving those, and the buttons. I plenty of ammunition for new buttons for next year.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, and all the materials, you can spread the word. All the auction winnings will either be mailed. You'll be connected with the person who sold the item, so you can either get them mailed to you, or if you're close enough to that person, you can always pick it up or arrange for a meet halfway kind of situation. So yes, and so all that goes back into the organization, of course, to help us give scholarships. For next year's conferences, just operational stuff, all that. So I don't get to pocket it. It's not for me. Beth isn't getting a raise. Sorry, Beth.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, and the auction is open. It's been open since we started the conference, and it closes though on Saturday night after our award ceremony, which we also should remind everyone again about the award ceremony at 6:30 on Saturday. And we still have our last keynote coming up, Maurice L. Hall on Friday night, which comes after our second ANJEE happy hour. So you can pre-party before the award ceremony. If there's no other questions, I don't think so. I wanted to thank everyone for being here. Thank you to our current volunteers, of course, to our board who volunteers their time, and to any of our new volunteers that may have joined us tonight. I really hope that you take the opportunity to work with us, because we're very excited to work with you. We also want to just thank our conference sponsors again, PSE&G, New Jersey Natural Gas, and our anonymous donor who helped make this conference a free conference for everyone. And we're so glad everyone could join us. And yeah, I hope everyone has a really great night, and thank you again for joining us. Bye-bye.
Hey, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Take good care. See you tomorrow.
See you all tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
See you tomorrow.